Okay, hey Brock, here we are together, man. Can you believe it?
Yes,
This
sir.
is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Off season, got a lot going on. Getting into the contract here soon, so we'll kind of see what happens, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
That's right.
definitely. So we've known each other for about 3 years now. Do you remember the first time we met?
I want to say in the cafeteria
Yeah.
at the 49ers facility after my first in-game appearance against the Chiefs. Yeah, I didn't really have much experience with like sports psychologists or people who help me think through mentality and your heart and breathing, like vision, all of those things. I never really sat down with anybody and actually, attack those areas. For me, it was always, hey, how do you handle the pressures of being a quarterback and your platform and all that kind of stuff. But so once you approached me and we got talking about how I felt during my couple drives that I had at the end of the game for my first time in the NFL, and you started like telling me what you could do to help me, I was like, okay, there's something to this, and I think I need to go all in on it. So.
Yeah. So I think you were talking about that you felt like your feet were moving a lot, right?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. So I got in at the end of the game against the Chiefs. We're losing, and it was really just to keep the starters, safe and healthy. So I get in, and it's my first action live outside of the preseason, my rookie year. And I remember like looking on the defensive line and seeing like Frank Clark and Chris Jones and some of these guys. I'm like, why are they still in the game? And so mentally for me, I felt rushed, and my feet were really fast. My brain and my thoughts were going really, really fast. I felt like I was getting the ball out really quick, and if there was any kind of flash or pressure in the pocket, I was stepping up quick and trying to get the ball out, and I didn't feel like I was calm within my body, like with my mind, my heart, setting the plays to the offense. I felt very rushed, and so that's when I told you, and you're like, I think I can help with that. So.
And do you remember like anything about what I thought that we needed to work on in relation to that?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of that?
I remember the first thing was really just your breath, and I was like, okay, like I've heard people, inhale, take a deep inhale and exhale, but you actually like explaining to me like what breathing can do and getting oxygen to your brain and then actually controlling your heart and realistically like allowing me to be present and not think too far ahead in the future or the past, but be where I'm at. What breathing does for you neurologically, my eyes were open. And so when you had started to teach me those things and then get hooked up with the belt and the heartbeat sensor and seeing the data in front of me on the screen, and how I can actually control my heart and being where I'm at, like it's real. And I was like, whoa, I never thought that I could actually see the live product, come to life. I didn't think that was a thing.
Yeah, what was inside of you? I just remember you being so receptive and curious. Curious. You weren't just like, hey, I got all this, man. I don't need to. But you were like, tell me more. Like, I know this wasn't what I want to be, right? Yeah. And you haven't been that way in other situations prior to this. But the bright lights and the Kansas City Chiefs and all that was like, okay, wait a minute. And so we started talking about the autonomic nervous system, you remember?
Yeah.
And how it can go fast and how it can go slow and how we want to regulate that regardless of what's going on around us, how we want to regulate it. And so we've talked about, or we worked through a lot of different things over the last 3 years. Can you kind of just summarize the different things that we've worked on to try to balance out the autonomic nervous system? And while they've probably been helpful in different ways, what do you think is the most impactful one for you personally? And what's been easy to kind of learn and what's been kind of hard to learn? Like if you could kind of summarize. I know that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the areas that we attack, really energy, where are you getting your energy, your breathing, and vision. Those are the three things that come to mind. And I know we've worked on multiple things, but I say those because for me, I think sleep and what I'm putting into my body like impacts dramatically, my day and my performance and how tentative I am in meetings and understanding how I'm being coached, what's been put into my mind with plays and scheme and handling relationships in the locker room. All of those things takes energy. And I never knew how important sleep was until like we started talking and you showing me some like data results and actually how people's performance can take off if you're getting the right amount of sleep and then also like just little things. I remember like you telling me like the importance of having natural fats in your body that your body can have early in the day and how it can elongate throughout the mornings into meetings. So like having some kind of like peanut butter, honey, like something that can sit well in my stomach and like allow me to have my body feed off something as I'm like watching film and meetings throughout a long day. And the schedule's long in football, but and then obviously breathing with being in the crazy moments and situations with just chaotic environments, really good defense, a good offense, and how can I be in the huddle and be precise with what I'm saying to the guys? How can I see it in my mind? And more than anything, know that I'm present. I'm not too far ahead in the future or behind off mistakes. And that's where breathing comes into play. And then vision, working on convergence and divergence, and as a quarterback, dropping back and having good depth perception of where the ball needs to be in certain windows downfield, and just allowing my eyes to train my eyes on the screen that you had us go through with convergence and divergence. And then when I get out on the field, allowing my eyes to actually be ready and allow it to take it to another level and see things quicker. So those are the three areas I think that for me come to mind of how important, it is training off the field and how I can see the results on the field. But what do you think?
Well, no, I think I've watched you take the breathing by storm and the vision, working with Ian in the brain room there on the vision, the speed. We talk a lot about we want to be fast with this balance of accuracy on vision, right? And in football and what you're doing, you cannot be 100% accurate. And so if you get leaning too far that way, then you're going to lose speed, right? The reverse is if I get really, really fast, then I lose accuracy. And the cool thing I think about the technology is it lets you measure that.
Yeah.
And I think all these things that you're talking about we're talking about measurement. Actually, why don't you describe for everybody, when we talk about breathing, everybody thinks meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, whatever, breathing. How would you describe this as different than what your perception of, well, I need to do breath work or breathing? How is this different from that?
So we put on like a breathing belt, and then also like the heartbeat sensor, and then it's not just say I'm gonna close my eyes and have a couple minute session of trying to be all zen and like spiritual. It's no, how can I legitimately see the results on the screen as I breathe, where my heart is at and how fast it's going, how I can control it with my breath and actually seeing the results. And for me, like the inhale is so important, holding it at the top, exhaling through my mouth and hearing the exhale, and seeing my heart coherence where I need to see it. And then obviously doing multiple sessions and seeing how I can actually get better and better. And I'm still not where I want to be. So
you're pretty darn good.
But
you're pretty good.
That's the beauty of it. Is like there's still more room to grow. But and I've taken that and then applying it to obviously my profession of playing quarterback in the NFL and allowing me to make the right decisions, allowing moments not allowing moments to be too big. And so anyways, we go back to the room off the field in our locker room. We have our little brain room is what we call it, and in there I'm working on my breath and breathing so that when I'm in the game I can fall back on habits of breathing, and when I'm on the sideline, being able to breathe as I'm looking over the plays from the last drive, and allowing myself to get back to being present. It's a beautiful thing that I've learned, neurologically, how breathing has actually allowed me to control my heart and not allow me to be, too out of it or too impulsive or out of control. I feel a lot more in control now. I feel present. I feel that no matter what the outcome is, like I can do my job well because I'm right here, due to, controlling my breathing.
Yeah. So when you're looking at the screen, what's it like for you when all of a sudden you start breathing a certain way and then the heart actually starts tracking the breath?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a certain feeling you feel inside when you feel that like perfect rhythm happening?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, it's tough to get there initially, but then once everything aligns with each other, it's like this, it sounds weird, but like just this natural state of this is where I should be, and everything is aligning, with my heart and my breath, and I'm not caught up in anything else but being right here, right now. And so that's what I feel.
Yeah, that is so cool. And you've already said it a few times, this whole idea of presence.
Yep.
And I know that is like probably our most common thing we talk about the day before games, right?
Yes.
Right. I mean, if I think back of all those pregame talks,
Yep.
it's about being present, right?
100%.
And we talk about the what ifs. What
Yeah.
if this happens? What if?
Yep.
And then we have the what abouts. What about happen? And you're saying that as you're doing this physiological work where you're focusing on the breath, it's increasing your ability to be present.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
100%.
Yeah.
I
Gotcha.
think both, like, and it's funny, yes, for football and
Yeah.
in my profession, like I said, and on the field and off the field at practice, like all those things, that's great, and that's how I've come to know this. But even in life,
Yeah.
when I'm going about waking up and going about my day and like actually taking hold of like breathing and allowing my heart and my breath to be in sync, and in that moment I'm able to know, like, all right, who I am, what my purpose is, and
Yes.
how I can attack my day, what the task is at hand, and go all in on that. And so that's in all areas of life, but obviously when you can take that to the football field for my profession, like that's a pretty amazing thing as well. So
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point. Is not everybody out there is an NFL quarterback, right?
yeah.
You know, but what you're talking about is, yeah, this helps maybe your performance out on the field, but it's helping in other areas of life,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Is because of that presence. I got to think that in relationships that's different, in your spiritual life, in all these different areas, that the more present you are and out of the what ifs and the what abouts. I mean, that's what we all need, right?
Yeah.
You know,
No doubt.
is we need that presence,
Yeah.
being present with people. So that's fantastic that you've gotten that skill.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about upstream, the brain, and how that affects the physiology, and the physiology then affects my thoughts and feelings. And then we have the behaviors down here, right? And so sports is very behavior based, right? It's the points you put up on the board. How have you learned that, or what have you learned about the fact that it's not just the behaviors, but it's working up here? How has working up here on the brain and body impacted down here, maybe even your thoughts and feelings and your behaviors?
Yeah. I think if I try to just go out and, throw a football well and just try to win games and be the best quarterback I can be, just raw, without any kind of training with my heartbeat, my breathing, where my mind is supposed to be with being in the present stage. I think I've done that before, and I've found out the hard way that it's scary, and it feels like life is going fast and I have to make impulsive decisions, and then when I do mess up, I'm in this mindset of like I should have, I could have, and I need to. Like it's just a darker place, and it's not as freeing. And so I say that because when I'm able to, take my training with my mind on my breathing, my vision, my sleep, and understanding that I'm energized and I know where I'm getting my source of energy, and I can rely on that going into a game. I don't have to make something up in the moment. I can rely on those things that, hey, I'm prepared. I know who I am and what I have to do right now. And so you then see my behavior follow that. And then you see the success with being consistent every drive and learning from my mistakes, but then also knowing that I can get off the field, recharge in the right way by controlling my breath and my heartbeat. And then once I step back out on the field, I'm going to continue just to make one decision at a time and stay present. And so I feel like my behavior follows like the preparation. So
I love how you describe that it actually follows versus I think a lot of people, behaviors try to force these other things to happen, But you're saying if I do the progression, probably like just like you do progressions when you're, looking at reads and stuff, if you do the progression correctly, the behavior just kind of follows. I love that.
Yeah.
It follows what this is all doing when it's under control.
yeah.
Can you think of a situation over the last few years where you specifically focused on your breathing, either pre-game, during the game, post-game, that you can remember that it just helped you kind of get through a stressful situation?
Yeah, there's a lot of games like the last couple of years, especially my rookie year, I was trying to figure it out, but the last 2 years, there have been multiple games and scenarios, and one of them being the NFC Championship game. We're down 17 at half.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it's like, all right, our season this is it. It's flashing before our eyes, and we're about to lose it. And we're down 17. We have one more half to go. I think Detroit had the ball before halftime. So I'm on the sideline standing up, like sort of pacing and catching myself like, hey, like, this is it. Like, you got to do something. There needs to be production. You need to do this. But I just felt myself like, okay, this is all out of my control right now with those thoughts. How can I center back to who I am right now, what I need to do, what I can control, and understand that there's things that I can't control and that I need to give that up. And so going into the second half, it was back to basics of what I'd done the whole year with being where I'm at, controlling my breath, allowing my heartbeat to just, steadily like be under control. And so that's probably the best one that's come to mind, but there's been multiple over the years.
But let's take a step down, look at downstream. Okay, can you think of a situation? Because I don't think we all realize how much we rely on feedback.
Yeah.
In relationships, in life, getting from place to place and doing things. And also how powerful feedback can be.
Yeah.
Like the change it can create. But let's see, can you give me an example of a time, maybe in a game, where you got some feedback, behavioral feedback, and how you might have adapted or changed or learned from that?
Yeah. I remember the 2023 season, somewhat early. We played the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. And in that game, my footwork, my mind was real. It was all over the place. I was trying to force too many things and whatnot. And so then that week, Clay Kubiak, our assistant quarterback coach, came up to me and was like, hey, man, everything starts with your feet. And watch this clip, watch this one. And we watched all the clips from the last game. He goes, if you keep it simple and just trust how we're teaching you with footwork and throwing on time per concept, he goes, everything else will take care of itself.
Wow.
And so going into the next game against the Arizona Cardinals, that's all I focused on was his feedback with my footwork and playing on time, not trying to do too much, but do exactly how they're coaching the quarterback to play. And that game turned out to be one of my best games. I think I was like 20 of 21, like one incompletion, but all I focused on was his feedback. And that game, like throughout the game, I just kept thinking of him coaching me on my footwork and being on top of it. And so, that's definitely a lesson for me moving forward with my career to understand how feedback sometimes is frustrating.
Yeah.
It's not what you think it is or what you want it to be all the time, but how necessary it is, especially if you're, striving for, greatness and being the best version of yourself. So love feedback.
Yeah. We can't learn without it, right?
Correct.
So that was an example of a behavioral feedback. We have been working the last 3 years on neurological and physiological feedback. Can you just describe in a training session how you get feedback and how that may adjust different things?
Yeah. I mean, even just with like skin conductance and seeing like my palms and my hand, like I feel my body like starting to sweat as I'm breathing, and then my score being way too high when skin conductance we're trying to lower it. And so like understanding my body, looking on the screen, seeing that it's going up, and like how can I get back to taking control of my breath and allowing me to stay present, and then boom, my body temperature just starts to heat up better, and I'm not as clammy and sweaty, and I look on the screen and it starts to lower. So it's like taking that feedback and applying it and changing and adapting and getting a better result. So that was,
I think that's a fantastic example because I don't know about for you, but that's the hardest one for me is to do the temperature up,
yes,
right? And skin conductance down. So the temperature, when we're more relaxed and we're not in this stress state, temperature goes to your fingers,
yes,
right? It rises, which as a quarterback, you definitely need that for the feel of the ball. And then this thing called skin conductance, which you mentioned, is our skin's the largest organ and has all this electrical current that makes it work. The more reactive we are to the environment, that skin conductance will rise. It's what you use in a lie detector test, right? The more focused but calm we are, it will go down. And I know it's been frustrating for you and for me. It's like you get the temperature going up, but then your skin conductance starts to go up, right? Or you get the skin conductance going down, but then the temperature, because you're using more stress to focus, right?
Yes.
And so now the temperature, so the body doesn't lie, right? And it shows you. And I've watched you struggle with that. Actually, we've talked about it a number of times, and it is a hard type of focus to have.
yeah,
But when you're in it, it's like nothing else, right?
yes,
And that feedback, like, I'm in it. Because you
Yes.
can see that you're in it, right?
yes, yeah, and like striving for that feeling, every session, because you'll have a couple sessions and then the next 10 sessions you're like, oh my gosh, I've lost it, and it's tough, but great feedback and training within all that. So
Yeah, and learning that. Let's finish up with this, okay? I like to always ask people that I work with, what does it mean to you to have an inner armor? So the program is the inner armor program. But apart from that, for you, what does that mean? Everybody is different. But we've been working on trying to build an inner armor, the upstream brain body. What does it mean to you to have an inner armor?
I think mentally, emotionally, and neurologically, like having tools to answer, like having tools to be able to go out and in the physical realm perform, and I'm talking about not just football, but like in life, with my marriage, my family, football, my job, like whatever it may be, having an understanding of who I am and how I can use like my brain and my breathing, my heart to be the best Brock that I can be.
Wow.
And so I'm continuing to learn that, but from what we've been doing and the training within all of that, it's allowed me to like what we've been talking about this whole time, not be too far ahead, not be too far behind, but be right here in the present and attack whatever my goal is for today and in the present. And so I mean, that to me is like, what inner armor for me, what that means.
That's awesome.